On day 3 of Ejura committee hearings, the Municipal Chief Executive, Mohammed Salisu Bamba, has described attempts to link him to the killings of Ibrahim Kaka, a social activist whose death sparked the disturbances in Ejura, as politically motivated. In his testimony, Mr. Salisu Bamba admits that although Kaka is known to him as an MPP member, he insists that no one linked to him was involved in the attack which led to his death.
That were arrested, are they your bodyguards?
Not at all.
Is there any reason why anyone would say that they are your bodyguards? Do you socialize with them a lot? Do you eat with them? Do they come to the residence? Why would anyone impute that to you?
Anyone who knows Ejura very well and our environment, my house is a place that whenever any political head is coming to Ejura, or any time that there is any national activity, the media who comes to Ejura can attest to that fact. My house is always full with a lot of people, really a lot of people. And the two gentlemen are our party members, and they are our polling station executives. And as a chief executive and parliamentary candidate, definitely I will have relation with all my party people on the ground.
Okay. Just a follow-up on that. I did say 2 questions, but this is a follow-up. The Kaka, the gentleman who had been injured on the 28th, who later 26th, who later passed on, is he a member of your party, as far as you know?
Yeah, he's a member of the MPP.
Is it his nature from where you sit? Is it his nature to criticize even you? Does he come to you with information or criticisms about things that are happening within the municipality?
Sincerely speaking, he's somebody who is very interesting, outspoken and jovial. But I don't know about his activities until his demise. Okay. Actually, when he got injured, before I get to know things that he's doing in the community.
He also told the committee that his presence in Ejura during the disturbances would have worsened an already volatile situation. He says upon advice of a security council, he stayed away from the area.
29.
Exactly.
Yes. And you were told not to enter Ejura.
Exactly.
For security reasons.
Exactly.
And that is why I'm asking you. If your house is being attacked with your wife and children in the house, for your personal security, you leave your wife and children in the house to be attacked. Is that what you are trying to say?
That is not what I'm trying to say, but the security on the ground, we are working together. So if they advise me and I didn't listen to the advice, when something happened, then they'll say we advise, and then he didn't heed to our advice.
So you thought about your personal security as against the entire community security?
No.
You know, if you were present at Ejura, things might have changed.
Actually, looking at how the whole environment was polarized, it could have been worse.
Can you let us know how your presence would have been worse?
When the incident happened, and if you look at the information going around, as you clearly stated, I was the first person that they were trying to link the suspect to. Yesterday, I heard the police addressing some warning letter. If you look at the document that I presented, they were even linking the warning letter to me, that I instructed the police to issue a warning letter to the gentleman, which I actually know nothing about. So I think my presence, just the way they attacked the police and then the police retreated, my presence could have made the situation worse.
So you heard the Municipal Chief Executive for the Ejura Dumase area, Salisu Bamba, when he appeared before the three-member committee a short time ago. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar, who has been sitting through those proceedings, is joining me for the latest on this. Ibrahim, I know that there are many other individuals who are expected to show up at the committee. For now, the MCE has had his turn. Beyond the information that he decided to stay away from the area upon advice from a Security Council, what more has been coming up today?
Well, Komla, the MCA admitted that Ibrahim Mohammed Kaka was a known member of the MPP, but he never knew of his activism until his demise. He knew he's someone who talks his mind, someone who you cannot just be able to contain when he has something that he wants to communicate out to the public. But he never knew that he has been doing all the fix the country activism and other stuff. So there is no way he can be linked to his death. And like you rightly said, he has denied that the two persons who have been arrested in connection with the murder of Kaka, that's Ibrahim Anyas and Hussein Al-Hassan, are his bodyguard. He indeed confirmed that they are also known members of the MPP, and they do come to his house anytime there is some activities. But that is not to say that they are his bodyguard. So basically, beyond what you just broadcasted and these things, that are the things he has been saying. Because the committee were much concerned about his absence in Ejura since the incident. Because for them, he is the head of security. He calls the shots, and he must be there for his people. He cannot say that because his life was at risk, he has to just leave them and go and find his safety. If he does that, meaning he's also fighting for his selfish interest. Because for them, as a father, you cannot leave your wife and children in the home and say because your house is burning, your security will be at risk, you will leave them and go somewhere else. But he has also been justifying that he did that upon advice by the security agencies. Like you rightly mentioned today, I've also seen the military commander who was in charge of the operations at Ejura, the one who was actually on the ground. Yesterday, the two commanders who came there were his superiors. They were not on the ground, but they came to also make their submission. But the committee requested that he be brought in because there are certain questions they will be limited in answering. He will be the right person to be able to answer them. So I've seen him also come. I've also seen the medical superintendent of Ejura, Dumase, Dr. Manye, who will also be testifying. We are also being told that the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator will also come in and testify. And tomorrow we will see the 10 of the residents of Ejura and families of the deceased or victims.
Before I let you go, Ibrahim, do we know if the Municipal Chief Executive came to this particular sitting today for the first time since the incidents happened in Ejura between the 28th and 29th? Is this his first time back in the constituency?
Well, Komla, as I speak to you now, the sitting has been moved from Ejura to Kumasi, because they are also sensing some tense atmosphere there. They don't want people to mass up at the sitting center. That's why they've moved it to Kumasi. So it's been held in Kumasi. But since the incident, the MCM himself has not returned to Ejura. As I speak to you now, he's still in Kumasi, and he tells us that it's on the advice of the security.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar, my colleague, who has been following sittings of a three-member committee probing this matter, led by Justice George Kingsley Kumsing, and also has a representation of Dr. Vladimir Intridanso and Juliet Amwa, who are the three individuals who are probing this particular incident. Brigadier General Joseph Nunu Mensah, retired, is a former Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces. He's going to join us for a conversation on what he makes of all that's been transpiring in Ejura and then the setup of a committee and their work so far. Thank you, Brigadier, for joining me here on Midday Live. First, I want to pick your thoughts on all that's been happening in Ejura from the 26th of June up until now. Brigadier General Nunu Mensah cannot hear me. We will be re-establishing contact with him to have a conversation on a number of issues. We begin from Ejura. As and when we're able to raise him on the line, we will engage him in the conversation. This is still Midday Live here on TV3. We're as via phone, Brigadier General Joseph Nunu Mensah, retired, is a former Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces. I appreciate that you could join us, Brigadier General. Now, I am sure you've seen all the videos, that have come out as a result of the fallout of the disturbances in Ejura from the 26th of June up until now, when the committee is hearing evidences and testimonies from the individuals. How do you react to all that's been happening? I'm afraid Brigadier General Nunu Mensah cannot hear me, but we're going to be engaging him on a number of issues, especially on the Ejura disturbances. We understand, apart from the Municipal Chief Executive Officer who is to appear before the committee today, there's also the Medical Superintendent of the Ejura Government Hospital who is expected to also take his turn in a short time. We know that previously, that's yesterday and the day before, there were also appearances of the commanding officer for the Central Command as well as the commanding officer for the 4th Infantry Battalion. They appeared before the committee yesterday. Subsequently later, we're expecting some residents as well as relatives of the victims to also appear before the committee. While we wait for Brigadier General to join us again, we also know that a 4-member team probing the WA military brutalities will also conclude the probe on Friday, 9 July. But while we get into that story, Brigadier General joins me again. Thank you again. Hopefully you can hear me. I was asking how you react to all that's been happening in Ejura from the 26th of June up until now.
How I will react to the case, the one in WA.
No,
and the one in Ejura.
We're beginning from Ejura.
Ejura?
Yes.
Ejura, I've not actually been following the commission's report or in a sitting. But the letter I've heard, I think the first day that is, 2 days ago, one of your sister stations, that the minister in the Charles region said he ordered the military. Is that true, to intervene?
That's correct.
That was what I've heard.
That's correct.
And I was wondering, where the minister got his authority from to order the army to intervene. You see, as a minister for the region, you have a regional security REGSEC council. That number will meet with all the interested people, the military, the police, national security, and so on, to take a decision on what to do in a case like this. What I heard was that he was not actually in Kumasi at the time. He was in Accra and ordered the military to intervene. That is not the right thing. That's in fact, if I were in a military man, I wouldn't have taken any action. Because if when they meet as a body, look at the intelligence which they have on the case that's happening at what happened at WA, and then at Ejura, and decide what to do. But to call the military man there, the commander of the unit there to intervene, that was not and he didn't have the authority to do that. The one the president has is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and he is our overall boss. But when it comes, that authority is reserved for the president. It's not transferable to the minister or the regional minister, and then they can order the equivalent military authority in their regions or whatever areas to intervene. That is not the way it is done. So that to me was not the right thing to do. Because they would have known that if they had met and described the issue, that based on intelligence they had, the military were not the best, people to be chosen to intervene. It's not their job. The military are not trained to deal with civilians. It's a matter for the police to decide. The military are taught, to defend this country. They are trained. And when they intervene, they're not going to intervene to shoot in the air or fire warnings. You're going to shoot to kill people. You should have known that.
So now who takes responsibility for these excesses? 2 lives have been lost in the process. Well, the committee...
If the minister ordered, he should take that responsibility. He ordered the people to shoot to kill. He ordered them.
So what would be your expectations of a committee that is currently looking into the matters as we speak?
I have not followed their deliberations, but, going by the past, the justice, what's the name, this commission we had, following the by-election problem there, I don't know whether anything will happen. But we shouldn't play around with these matters because they can lead to some real terrible situations for us. I've been following news around the world. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? In Haiti, you had a group of criminals entering the president's office and assassinating him. And this country, Haiti, has been in trouble for the past maybe 6 decades. And from what is happening in Ghana, if we don't take care, Ghana will be heading toward that kind of situation. Everybody does what they like. In fact, I mentioned the case of a soldier in Wa, whom I'm told also went on a rampage because he lost his phone and went around and arrested people and maltreated them. When we are getting cases like this, then the country is sliding slowly, but gradually towards chaos and anarchy.
Right.
So we shouldn't deal lightly with matters like this. We have to be quite serious. If anybody was found to be culpable, it should be dealt with.
You have just touched on the war situation I was going to come to. Now, we know that the committee is looking into this. Already, we have been told that some of the soldiers who were cited having brutalized the residents on that day, some of them have been demoted from their ranks, from staff sergeants to corporal in some cases, some from corporal to private in some other cases. And then also, they've been detained for some 30 days in the guard room. You are a former chief of defense staff. When things like these happen, what are the sanctions, and is it enough to just demote them from their ranks?
No, with the one in war, the military are capable. The military have adequate provision to deal with that case. In fact, the people like you don't worry at all. I mean, the military will deal with it. They have the military law, which deals with cases of indiscipline like that. So I know that the right thing will be done. I'm not worried about the military one at all. They will deal with it. So just rest assured that the military will respond and respond effectively. And whoever was involved in this act of indiscipline will be dealt with.
Thank you very much, Brigadier General Joseph Nunu Mensah.